Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Ari, and today we're going to have some more stories about our toxic life. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to my channel, like the video, if you enjoy it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now without further ado, let's go. Today's first story. In this story, Opie discovered his girlfriend and father had a week-long affair a few months ago. Feeling betrayed and sickened, he hasn't officially broken up with his girlfriend but is avoiding her. He has shattered his close relationship with his father, and he is torn about forgiving him. After confiding in his mother and brother, who had mixed reactions, he learned his father maintained contact with the ex-girlfriend. He is grappling with whether to completely cut ties with his father, torn between anger and a desire for resolution. Now let's get into the story. We've been together for over a year. My girlfriend, 21, and father, 54, sat me, 23, down last week to tell me they had a week-long affair a couple of months ago. They only had intimate 3 times, they said, and after the 3rd time, they said they both felt extremely guilty and mortified by their actions. They've been wanting to tell me since then, but didn't have the heart. I always knew they got on well. They bonded over many shared interests, but I never saw this coming. I feel completely sick. I haven't eaten hardly anything since they told me. I haven't officially broken up with her yet, but it's obvious, as I haven't responded to any of the texts or calls she sent when they first told me, and after it had sunk in, I left and haven't said a word to anyone outside of work since. I've been a total ghost to my whole family and friend group. My dad and I are very close. For my whole life, I've looked up to him. He and my mom divorced when I was a teenager, but they've been very friendly to each other, which made the process so much easier. I want to forgive my dad, but if my girlfriend had cheated on me with another person, I would easily cut them both off. And in a weird way, my dad has hurt me so much more by doing this than she has. I could get over a cheating girlfriend, but my relationship with my father, a relationship I cherished, is destroyed, and it's his fault. My question is this: should I forgive my father? How can I forgive him? I tell my mom or brother. Would I be cruel for completely cutting him off, which is what my heart is telling me to do? Update. A bit has happened since then, but I'll try to be brief to avoid a wall of boring text. So I told my mom and brother, as everyone suggested. My mom was heartbroken, and we talked for a few hours. She told me she was not surprised when they were married. She suspected him of having inappropriate contact with students. My dad is a handsome man, and she told me many girls would give him that kind of attention. She did not know if he was unfaithful for certain, though my brother took it as I expected. He blamed my ex and told me I should date less slutty women. I feel like this is missing the point of whatever. I can't stand that guy anyway. For the following week, after I dumped my ex, she would call and text me a lot. The gist was basically she loved me and I should forgive her because she made a mistake but hates herself for it. She told me it was just intimate and that she wanted to fulfill her fantasy of having intimate with an older male teacher before we got married. I didn't respond to any of these messages or return her calls. I hadn't heard from my dad until a few days ago when he came by to reconcile. He let himself in as he had a key, and we talked. He told me about how the affair started with them flirting a little. Eventually, they had intimate. He said while they had intimate 3 times, only the last time was actual penetrative intimate. The first 2 times weren't. He told me this like I was going to be relieved they only did it once. In reality, I was horrified now that a detailed picture was in my mind. I asked him if he had been in contact with my ex. He said yes, and that they'd had dinner a few times as friends because he was worried about her. According to my ex, I was emotionally torturing her, and my dad believes he's responsible for her. I told him I would not have a relationship with him ever if he kept in contact with her. He said I was his son, and that he would be in my life regardless. I just held my tongue. He then told me it was shitty to tell my mom and brother like I was going to ruin his reputation. I was done, so I just nodded and apologized. I know that was cowardly, but I didn't want an argument. That was a few days ago. I haven't told anyone else other than my immediate family. I still don't know whether to totally cut contact with my dad. Part of me doesn't, part of me doesn't. Today's second story. In this story, Opie, after discovering his girlfriend, Casey, cheated on him and got pregnant with someone else, decided to end the relationship. Despite attempts at reconciliation, he remained firm in his decision. Recently, he unexpectedly encountered Casey and her family at a restaurant. After a tense conversation, he stood his ground, rejecting Casey's pleas for another chance. Despite the emotional turmoil, he found closure and support from his family. Now let's get into the story. My 31 male ex-girlfriend, 29 female, found me and wanted to hang out, but I just ignored her after she broke my heart. Backstory. In 2015, I met this woman at college. Let's call her Casey. We had so many things in common, and we instantly got close. She asked me out, and it was a wonderful relationship, or so I thought. We had dreams together, sent X-rated pictures once in a while, and we did a lot of stuff together. Not intimate yet. In 2019, at Christmas, I was going to propose to her after I give her parents and siblings gifts. I even gave her mom, who hates me, a gift. Casey worked at the hospital, so she would get out of work later, or so I thought. It was 5 p.m. She didn't come to her parents' place, but I came and decided to give everyone gifts when I give her younger sister, 20 female, let's call her Sherry, a laptop. She cried and hugged me because she always wanted one for school. I got Casey's father a new barbecue grill. Moments later, Sherry told me she couldn't contain it anymore and cried harder. I asked what's the matter. She immediately took me to her room and her father came along as well. Sherry kept saying she was sorry so many times. I was confused as to why. She then showed me a pregnancy test and told me that it belonged to Casey. I completely lost it and wanted to know why and how long the affair lasted for. Sherry informed me that the affair happened at the beginning of 2019. While I was working a lot at my factory job, she went to see him. To make matters worse is that Casey's mom was the one who introduced the AP to Casey. Apparently in the month of November, Casey found out she was pregnant and she begged Sherry not to tell anyone. After Sherry found the test, when she told me everything, my world came crashing down and I decided to leave. But before I left, I thanked Sherry and her father. Let's call him Max. Max apologized and said that if I left, he would completely understand. We shook hands and I said thank you. I just looked at Casey's mom and I then left my ex's house and just drove away and didn't look back. Max and Sherry got furious with Casey's mom. Let's call her Jane. Around 7 p.m. on Christmas, I informed my family about what happened and they all comforted me. At 11 p.m., my phone began blowing up with phone calls and text messages from my ex saying she could explain. I didn't answer. I changed my number, deleted my social media, and changed my email. As much as I wanted closure, I didn't want to see her face. Fast forward to the middle of 2020, one of my friends informed me that the AP who got Casey pregnant ran away after he found out he was the father Karma, and they're looking for him. I simply said, who cares? Fast forward to last month. I saw a number I'd never seen before. I answered, and it was my ex. My ex begged me to talk to her and possibly give her a chance at my favorite restaurant. I responded, why should I after you did what you did? She rambled on, and I just ignored her because I didn't want to go through the same pain that she had put me through. Casey began gaslighting me and her friends, and her mom called me a coward for not seeing her again. I told Jane, you have the audacity to say that after what you've done? She rambled on. I just hung up and blocked Jane and my ex's number. I informed her friends what happened, and they left me alone. Update. It's been nearly 3 months since I posted my story, and apparently she found me on Mother's Day of all days, which was last week, Sunday. My mom wanted to go to Red Lobster since she loves seafood. One of my sisters, really half-sister, but she is my sister, came along as well. Let's call her Raven. We were about to leave when all of a sudden I ran into my ex's sister Sherry and the Wicked Witch of the West, Jane, in Red Lobster. Sherry was in total shock at seeing me, and I hoped Casey wasn't there with her. Thankfully, she wasn't it. Jane looked at me with disgust and Raven in disbelief. Jane was in total shock at seeing Raven. For some reason. I wasn't sure why at the time. I was about to explode until I looked at my mom and Raven because they both wanted to pound Jane into the ground for what she did to me, so I had to calm both of them down. Sherry then begged me to talk to her after a heated argument involving my mom, Jane, and my sister. Raven then suggested that if I wanted to talk to Sherry, we had to talk alone. They wouldn't be involved, and neither would the snake, Jane. We talked for a bit, and she asked me how had I been, and told me how she missed me and wished that I hadn't left. She told me that my ex was miserable when I left, and I responded that it was not my problem. I then asked, how was school treating her? Sherry cried and said that Casey broke the laptop I gave her for Christmas a week after I left and jousted her. I asked before I go, why does your mom hate me? I'm curious. Sherry then said it was because she saw me with another woman, and it was that same woman that they both saw just now. Little did Jane know it was my sister. I told Sherry that Casey's actions were wasted and the warranty was still available until 2022. Sherry literally danced for joy, and she said she would immediately get the laptop. After dinner, we said goodbye, hugged, and left. The next day, I waited at BrandsMart. Work was slow. I saw Sherry, and to my surprise, Max came along. No lie, I had a smile on my face. We talked. Max loved the grill I gave him, and he still apologized, but I told him there was nothing he could do. After the laptop was resolved, we chatted for nearly an hour. They insisted on talking for a while, not sure why. I told them it was good seeing them, but Max insisted on taking me to a restaurant I had never been to. He paid for everything. As a thank you for giving Sherry another laptop. Better one. Sherry responded, I'm sorry about this. I hope you forgive me. Please don't be upset. Lo and behold, my ex came, and she looked in worse shape than I imagined. She looked worse than a surgery gone wrong. She tried to hug me. I just stuck my hand out and asked, what the hell do you want? Casey apologized and begged me to take her back, saying it was a mistake, a cheater's excuse. I responded, you cheated on me for nearly a year when I worked my ass off for us, and this is how you repay me? She realized that mistake and said that it was Jane's fault, and I said you went along with it. She could have said, I'm not happy with you anymore, but she didn't. It was not my problem anymore. I moved on, and you did too for nearly a year. And the fact you gaslighted me and tried to put the baby on me when we never had intimate? The hell? And now the AP left you, and he's on child support. Casey told me that her son was 1 year old and needed a father. I told her good luck with that. She asked why I was being so mean. I said, you're the reason for this. I wanted kids. I nearly got a house for us, family stuff. And you threw all that away? Casey said I threw it away because Sherry told me Jane saw you with another woman. And then she described what she looked like. I laughed and called Sherry to let her know who she had seen. Sherry explained everything to my ex. Casey was crying really hard. She realized all this time I had been faithful, and she wished she had never listened to Jane and said, I hate her for this. Casey begged me for another chance, saying we can fix everything and that she would do anything. Just take me back. I simply just told Casey, Max, and Sherry wish you all the best, and walked out. I told my family why I was out a bit long, and they immediately were proud of me for not taking her back. My dad laughed and said, Jane wanted you gone, son, and found a reason, a stupid one at that. You'll do better on the next woman. So, yeah, thank you guys for everything. I didn't think I would run into her again. Even though I got closure, it wasn't worth it to see the two women who broke me.